Hello friends. What if the Black Wolf had finally become strong enough to challenge the darkness threatening Konoha, but at a cost nobody expected? Welcome to Part 13, where powerful battles, hidden truths, and life-changing decisions push Naruto closer to his ultimate destiny. Before we begin, make sure to like, share, and subscribe. Let's get started. Chapter 18 The Ring, Beta, Dretya, The hospital's sublevel was a place that Jiraiya never thought he would be in his lifetime. The truth was that the smell sickened the Sannin to his very core. True, he witnessed a lot of death in his shinobi life, but never before he entered a morgue. He knew that his assignment was important, though, so he would have to sit up and do what was asked of him. Because of Yondaimi's death, the only one qualified to understand just any type of seal and its function was Jiraiya. True, the pervert wanted Naruto to receive his tutelage regarding Fuinjutsu, but Jiraiya couldn't just simply reach him and force the information into his brain. Like the Yondaimi did back then, Naruto would have to ask for the subject to be taught, otherwise it would be worthless. Naruto wouldn't appreciate the art and eventually he would forget such knowledge as not being worth his trouble. Wondering about his student, Jiraiya was actually proud of the damn brat. Joining the Anbu at 16 was outstanding and Naruto was quickly becoming one of the strongest ninjas in Konoha. Sure, both Kakashi and Itachi beat Naruto by joining the Anbu forces on their 12th birthday, but Kakashi's timeline was in the midst of war, so there was a necessity for promoting ninjas and Itachi. Well, Itachi was a genius. Getting out of the elevator, Jiraiya started feeling nauseous as the smell filled his lungs. Tsunade mentioned that there were some masks located in a room next to the elevator for those who wouldn't stand the intoxicating smell of the dead. It didn't take long until he reached the room and found the black breathing mask that happened to filter the intoxicating air and make it breathable. Trying to control his breathing now, Jiraiya almost choked, but his breathing soon reached normality. Looking up, he found directions to the room he needed to go and followed them. Soon, he knocked on the door and one medic nin opened. Jiraiya-sama, Tsunade-sama told us you'd come here to check on Hoshikage Kisami's corpse. We're already prepared his body for your analysis. Please right this way, said the medic nin in charge of the room, to which Jiraiya nodded and followed the man. Actually, I'm not here to take a look at that fish's body. I'm here for the ring that he wore on his right hand, explained Jiraiya, before seeing the man stopping and looking back at the Sannin. All his personal items were stored with his body, so if he wore them by the time he died, then sure the ring is here, stated the medic nin, before turning to the door in front of him and began to press a certain digit sequence. After he finished, they heard the sound of a lock opening before the medic nin turned the doorknob. When Jiraiya entered the room, he looked at the blue corpse in front of him as he wondered about life itself. The man was considered an S-ranked criminal, wanted for trying to murder the Mist Daimyo along with aiding in the Mist Civil War. Now seeing him reduced to just a corpse, Jiraiya couldn't help but wonder if every evil caused by this man was worth it in the end. It didn't matter if he was the enemy or not, seeing someone throw his or her life away for evil didn't deserve respect, but pity. His possessions are located at that metal plate next to his body and I believe there is the ring you're looking for, Jiraiya-sama. I'll be in the next room if you need me. Okay, said the medic nin, to which Jiraiya nodded and picked up the ring before looking at its kanji. The symbol engraved in it didn't tell Jiraiya much, but he knew that Fuinjutsu techniques oftentimes required more than one seal to be effective, quite like the 5-barrier sealing technique that protected the cave's entrance when Naruto went to retrieve Gaara from Akatsuki. So, his mind began to process the information and search for clues that would aid him in his research for the technique responsible for sealing the Biju's power. At the gates . Looking at the village for the first time since her departure, she couldn't help but feel nostalgic. Some would consider 2 months a very short time to feel this way, but Haruno Sakura didn't care. Konoha was her home and she never spent so much time outside the village, except on her Chunin exams in Kumo, which actually took a month and a half. This time, she had a medic field mission on a village a few miles away from Konoha, which was to establish a new hospital for the villagers. At first, she tried reasoning with the Hokage about her doing this mission, but in the end, it was safe to say she would thank Tsunade for all eternity for doing this to her. Upon arriving at the village, Sakura immediately forgot about everything in the past and focused only on working throughout her 2-month mission. The hospital was about done and people came pretty much every day for either a normal checkup or to treat a heavy wound or, even, some severe surgery. After a month, Sakura was considered the village's savior as she was the one responsible, along with an elder doctor in town, for re-establishing the village's hospital. She had to admit she felt good upon hearing the villagers thanking her and couldn't imagine her doing anything different in the future. Now, because of the end of her mission, she now would return to her home village and report to the Hokage, but she wouldn't be going alone. "Sakura-chan, let's get going, I'm eager to meet Lady Tsunade and get to know about her medical knowledge," said a guy about her size, black hair and wearing some formal clothing. The pink-haired girl smiled at the guy's enthusiasm and nodded, before the two walked inside the village while holding hands. "Hakushi-kun, I know you're eager to see the Hokage, but it's been a while since I've been here, I wanted to look around a bit," stated Sakura, earning an understanding nod from Hakushi. Another reason why Sakura would need to thank Tsunade was his new boyfriend Taiki. He is, actually, the elder doctor's son and, because of this, he and Sakura ended up spending quite a lot of time together. Hakushi's dream was to become the best doctor in the world and to be able to help as many people as possible, so it wasn't hard for Sakura to fall for the guy. Of course, the physical attributes were appealing as well, but ever since Sasuke rejected her that day, surely the girl wouldn't mind taking a look at personalities instead of just looks. Hakushi asked Sakura, sometime, about what it's like to work under the best medic in all the elemental nations and told that he wanted to study under her knowledge, perhaps, even becoming a doctor at the Konoha Public Hospital. Some would say that it was better for him to stay with his father helping the villagers, but one of Sakura's achievements was to select a very competent staff of doctors and nurses to work under Hakushi's father, so it wasn't necessary for him to be there at the moment. Of course, if the need arose, in the future, he would go without even thinking, but for now, he would work hard under Tsunade's teachings. Back in Sakura, she was looking around the village and smiling upon seeing some children playing and women gossiping. A normal life, Sakura concluded. While on her mission, Sakura began to wonder how different her life would be if she dedicated full time into being a medic. She could settle for teaching aspiring medic nins and work full time at the hospital. It was surprising how in 2 months' time, she could change everything she ever believed and even settle for working full-time at the hospital, instead of going on missions. Sakura wondered what her Taiko's reaction would be once she came with the request. If Sakura knew anything about the Hokage, it was that the woman would be pissed if she knew her time was wasted, and certainly, Sakura didn't want to be on the receiving end of such frustration. Nevertheless, this was a dream of hers and she wanted to do it, even if her master disapproved. Just as Sakura was about to take another step, she looked up to see Ino looking at her, before greeting the pink-haired Chunin with the normal respect, but still some cold towards her. Sakura couldn't help but look down in shame since she remembered how she used to treat everyone inside. "Hello Ino, how's everything?" said Sakura in a normal, yet down tune to which Ino picked up in an instant. This Sakura was different, she could tell. Normally, Sakura wouldn't behave like this, and the Yamanaka wondered if something happened on her mission. "So Sakura, I heard that you went on a 2-month mission, how was it? And who is the man standing next to you? asked Ino as she pointed to Hakushi. However, she managed to see a faint blush from Sakura and wondered if something was going on. Well, this is Hakushi-kun and he came with me to work at the Konoha hospital, and we, boyfriend and girlfriend, stammered Sakura, not even knowing why she did so. Or perhaps she knew, as she kind of owed Ino for being such a bitch before. Ino, on the other side, was now sure something happened on this mission, for 3 reasons. First, Sakura wasn't behaving like a bitch. Second, she wasn't fawning on Sasuke, and third, she was dating someone else, a civilian no less. The Yamanaka didn't think ill of civilians because they weren't ninjas, but she knew the difference in ideals between the two. She wondered how a civilian would understand the life of a shinobi and vice versa. It didn't just work, period. Ino, however, was caught by surprise when the man next to Sakura approached her and showed his hand as if he was about to greet her. "Good afternoon, Ino-san, it's finally nice to meet you. Sakura told me a lot about you and that you're also a medic nin," smiled Hakushi, earning a smile in return from Ino as she greeted him back. Seeing that they were near a small cafe, Ino invited them for a cup of coffee while they could catch up on things and maybe get to know the new Sakura better. Of course, she wouldn't trust her right away, but at least giving her the opportunity to start all over wasn't a bad idea. It wasn't long until the 3 of them began talking. Well, Ino was just listening since both Sakura and Hakushi had a lot to tell about Sakura's 2-month mission towards the man's village. She learned about Sakura's achievements and that the village now contained a special clinic for wounded shinobi to attend to in case of poisons and/or chakra-related diseases. Hakushi explained that without Sakura, the hospital would have taken nearly a year to be fully operational and people wouldn't receive proper care, to which Sakura began to blush at the remark. While Hakushi was talking, Ino couldn't help but see a changed Sakura in front of her. Even though Ino and Sakura were friends, Sakura always had that air of false superiority and, more often than not, she would boss everyone around. Now, though, Sakura was different. She didn't correct anything that came out of Hakushi's mouth and even smiled when Hakushi explained a rather moving event when Sakura managed to save an old lady after she was infected with poison. After the new couple stopped talking, Ino began to tell Sakura what had happened since she left. Of course, she talked about how well Shikamaru is doing as an Anbu and got to tell her about some of his exploits. It didn't take long for them to break, since Sakura had to report to the Hokage about her mission success, so they parted ways. Hakushi was saying how nice it was to meet Sakura's friend, but one question he did answer surprised Sakura. "Tell me, Sakura-chan, I noticed that Ino-san gave you glances from time to time. I thought you two were friends," asked Hakushi, before hearing a sigh in dismay from the pink-haired medic. "Well, we were best friends all right, but some events created some distance between us. As I grew up under Tsunade-sama's teachings, I became kind of bossy with people, so it's safe to say I didn't leave the village on the best of terms. But I've changed now and I hope that Ino and I can be friends again. I remember when we were kids, that we were inseparable and I'd like to recuperate that type of friendship with her," explained Sakura, as they walked inside the Hokage tower. Going upstairs, she and her boyfriend were in front of the Hokage's office, just waiting for Sakura to knock before entering. But for some unknown reason, she just stared at the door. She wondered if the Hokage sent her away because of her bossy attitude towards people. Even if she acknowledged said behavior, it didn't feel good to know that Tsunade was trying to get rid of her just like that. Looking up once more, she decided to face it and knocked on the door, thus getting authorization to enter. "Greetings, Tsunade-sama, I've recently come back from my mission," said Sakura as she and Hakushi entered the office. "Ah, Sakura, come in please, it's nice to see that you're safe, so report," asked Tsunade side with Shizune in the room. After arriving, I made contact with the village's head doctor and we established the plans needed to hire some staff and acquire the necessary medication for the hospital. In 2 weeks, the new hospital was up and running with half the staff needed and a few medical supplies on the way. Within a month, the civilian hospital was fully operational, thus receiving a vast number of wounded and even some scheduled checkups every now and then. The ninja hospital took a while longer to finish, because some of the staff needed additional training on some basic medic techniques. Overall, in 2 months, both hospitals are fully operational and both ninja and civilians are attending them, reported Sakura, earning a satisfying nod from the blonde Hokage. She couldn't help but smile, though, as the old Sakura would never give credit to anyone other than herself and even her expression was lighter than before, she assumed Shizune's idea came through quite nicely. Good job Sakura, and I trust that you are Hakushi-san. Your father told great things about you. He asked me to give you a position in our hospital and I accepted. It's tough to find good medics this time around, said Tsunade, earning a nod from Hakushi. I appreciate it Tsunade-sama. I didn't know my father asked you already. I was hoping to come here myself, but I guess he beat me, right? Laughed Hakushi, earning a smile in recognition from Tsunade, before she looked at Sakura. The girl was blushing upon looking at him, or she was just delusional. Upon looking at Shizune, she smiled and nodded, knowing what the Hokage was thinking. Excuse me Tsunade-sama, asked Sakura, earning the Hokage's attention, before she continued. I was hoping to ask you about something. What is it? Well, throughout my mission, I was able to dedicate full attention at the hospital and in time, I had an epiphany of sorts. I liked taking care of people rather than hurting them, which is why I wanted to ask if I could be full time at the hospital instead of being on the field and possibly teach aspiring the next generation to be a medic nin. I know you trained me and I'm grateful for everything, but I want to use this training at the hospital, said Sakura, lowering her head as if expecting the shouting that was soon to initiate, but instead all she heard was laughter. Sakura, I've seen this mission did wonders for you my dear, and I bet this young man next to you did as well. So, you want to be at the hospital, then, I see. I'll grant your request and I want to say I'm proud of you Sakura, said Tsunade, before seeing Sakura look at her with wide eyes, since she never got to hear such praise before. Medical ninjutsu was created to save and not to harm people. Only a true medic nin would choose what you did, and for that, I'm proud of your growth. Shizune will take care of the papers and we'll talk about the medic nin school some other time. Now why don't you show Hakushi-san his new home and we'll see about an apartment for him later, said Tsunade, before seeing the two bowing in respect and leave. She changed a lot, didn't she? Asked Shizune, earning a smiling nod from Tsunade. _= with Naruto ===. After leaving the village straight towards Fang Country, Naruto and his team were now leaving Fire Country. Being a 3-man team, the formation wasn't that hard to make, but Naruto was doing a nice job leading an Anbu-level mission. He positioned Shino to be last because of his scouting abilities while he and Shikamaru would be in front to scout ahead. Shino was using his Kikaichu bugs to alert them of any hostile intent nearby, so that they could travel faster without needing to worry about incoming enemies. Their mission involved 2 parts. The first was to track the missing nins that stole the documentation and then engage in combat. Tsunade wasn't clear as to what they should do about the missing nins, so both Naruto and Shikamaru agreed that they were a threat that needed to be dealt with, after retrieving the scrolls. Looking back, he asked Shino to report their status so far. My Kikaichu didn't sense evil presences around and up front as well. Our path is clear for the moment, said Shino, earning a nod from Naruto who, then, focused some chakra on his feet and increased the pace. Anbu missions were very different from normal missions. While traveling, they couldn't afford to either rest or proceed at a slow pace. Both Shikamaru and Shino knew this, and while the bug user followed Naruto's speed, Shikamaru muttered his favorite words since he had to use a great deal of chakra to just cope with Naruto's speed. Black Wolf Taiko, how much time until we reach the client's house? Asked Shikamaru, after reaching the blonde. Naruto, though, looked at Shikamaru for a while, wondering why his longtime friend was addressing him with such respect which would be normally given to those at least with double the experience in battle than him. Naruto ignored it, though, in favor of asking later. We are close now, the client's mansion is a few miles away from here, we'll be there in 5. Reported Naruto, earning a nod from Shikamaru, as the trio continued the fast pace towards their mission. So what's the plan after we arrive? Asked Shikamaru. The missions file didn't give us a thorough description of the document or its contents, so we'll have to ask our client to better explain it to us. After that, we'll begin the investigations to find the ones who stole said document. I expect this phase to last close to a day, before one of us manages to find a major lead on our suspects. That will be outlined for now. I'm afraid, in order for us to devise a battle formation, we need to understand the enemy's capabilities and their numbers first, explained Naruto, earning a nod in understanding from Shikamaru and Shino. Now, before we arrive, I want to know of you two's abilities when engaging multiple opponents. I know I read your file, but the more information the better, plus the report is written after the battle, meaning that I can't grasp a ninja's full potential from reading a report, asked Naruto, before Shino responded for Shikamaru. After we joined Anbu, we developed a special teamwork strategy that consisted of shadow binding and my Kikaichu draining their chakra. After as much as possible of the enemy's chakra, we change into long-range elemental attacks to eliminate a large quantity of the enemy's forces. The rest, we engage in plain taijutsu kenjutsu. As to our abilities, ever since we fought against each other, we trained a lot and managed to improve our element mastery. In conclusion, we can take close to 10 enemies by ourselves, reported Shino, earning a nod from Naruto. Okay, then. After we have a better grasp at our enemies, we'll devise a proper battle plan. In order for your plan to work, we must find a way to include me in it, said Naruto, but was interrupted by Shikamaru. That wouldn't be an issue. In our battle plan, you'd hold the enemies like I use the shadow binding while the bugs the enemy's chakra. I would use stronger shadow attacks and eliminate as much as possible, before you choose one of your destructive techniques to take care of the rest. With you, we could probably take on 5, maybe 10 opponents more, said Shikamaru, before he looked forward and noticed that the client's house was appearing in the horizon. Underscore. Equals with Jiraiya equals. A bit more than 2 hours passed and Jiraiya hasn't progressed one bit with his research. The problem with jutsus that used more than one seal was the huge number of possibilities for its use and finality, and for all the experience he gathered on seals, he couldn't grasp all such possibilities. Taking his eyes off the ring for a second, he chose a different approach. He knew that all the Akatsuki members had these rings and he presumed each of them contained different engravings that would aid in the technique. And while he couldn't possibly know about the other seals, Jiraiya can at least figure out the mechanics behind the technique. Another thing Jiraiya wondered about was why the organization didn't come to Konoha and try to retrieve the ring. If such a technique was only possible with all of them, they wouldn't be resting unless they had all the seals. Let's think for a second. I know that Orochimaru used to be a part of said organization, and even though he left, the organization was still able to do this sealing jutsu, so it means that the more seals chakra source to use, it's easier to perform the technique. But it is not impossible for them to perform it with fewer members, but they would need a lot more chakra for compensation. So, I guess it's safe to say the technique was created for 10 individuals to perform at the same time. Okay, then, now I must figure out how this technique works, thought Jiraiya out loud. He immediately wrote his findings on the technique on a blank scroll, before looking again at the ring. The next part was to figure out why the need for the ring itself, seeing that the ring wasn't as important as the seal inside it. Jiraiya frowned from lack of knowledge about their members that would help him to figure out the need behind the ring. He didn't know if the finger position was important or if all of them used the same finger. He needed help from someone that already saw them in order to tell him. I guess I'll have to go to Tsunade and ask her directly. I don't know anyone besides Naruto and Kakashi that saw their members. Wait, Tsunade and the Anbus engaged Itachi and Kisame, she must know about the ring positions. _= At Tsunade's office ===. After explaining his findings so far about the technique, he saw the Hokage cross her arms and close her eyes in retrospect. She had to confess that she didn't bother looking at their hands, since she was more concerned with eliminating them from the face of the earth. But if she managed to remember, Jiraiya's research would improve and he could figure out what he could do to prevent the Kyuubi's extraction, in case Naruto gets captured in the future. She was recalling each step of the fight and even remembered Itachi's prowess with Kaden jutsus. She remembered seeing the speed behind making hand seals, before suddenly an image froze on Itachi's ring. I remember now, when Itachi was doing hand seals at the time, he finished with the Tora seal and his ring appeared. It was his right hand wedding finger, I believe. Where was Kisame's? Asked Tsunade. Left wedding finger. If the technique was created to be used by 10 individuals, then there must be 10 rings, each one used in each of the 10 fingers, explained Jiraiya, to which Tsunade frowned, while trying to hold her urge to punch the pervert from stating the obvious, but Jiraiya was a master in finding information, so she waited for his brain to process the information he now possessed. Back to the pervert, he was deep in thought. 10 people, 10 fingers, it must be the position in which the seals must be aligned for the technique to work, he thought. This means that in order for the technique to work, the finger positions must be aligned. So, they could have a fuinjutsu map of sorts, said Jiraiya until he saw the look on Tsunade's face, not understanding what he said just now, before continuing. A fuinjutsu map is sometimes used when the technique is complex and needs a specific position. Most of these situations consist of more than one ninja performing the ritual, kind of like the ones used for the medic nin technique for human tissue reparation. In this case, the members could be positioned in each of the fingers that they represent and all of them focus chakra at the same time. I'm not saying it's how it works, it's just a guess based on what I know of the art. Once the technique is initiated, the 10 chakra sources reach the Jinchuriki, starting the extraction ritual, explained Jiraiya, earning a nod from Tsunade, who managed to imagine the situation. Then what did they use to keep the bijus after the extraction? Scrolls, maybe, asked Tsunade, earning a nod in the negative from Jiraiya. No, if that was the answer, then Minato wouldn't need to sacrifice his life in order to seal the Kyuubi and he was a true genius. To my knowledge, there isn't a better jail for the biju than the Jinchuriki, so it's possible that what they're using isn't created by humans at all, concluded Jiraiya, earning looks of shock from Tsunade who demanded an explanation. Think about it, there were 9 Jinchuriki in all the elemental nations and 9-tailed beasts trapped inside. Do you think that if there was a possibility of sealing a tailed beast inside a scroll, that the villagers would prefer to seal inside a baby? I believe I figured out as much as I could here in Konoha. I'll go to my spy network and expand this research worldwide. One of them will be able to give me a lead of what this sealing technique contains, expressed Jiraiya, earning a nod from Tsunade. Okay, then, proceed with caution, I can't afford to lose you now, said Tsunade with no second intentions, other than military, but Jiraiya couldn't help but want to get a rise out of his once teammate. I'm touched with your concern over my well-being, Tsunade Haim. I promise you with all my heart that I'll return to you my love, joked Jiraiya, but couldn't finish, since by the time he said the last word, he was already out of Fire Country, flying from the woman's mighty punch. Underscore. Equals with Naruto equals. The team arrived at the client's mansion shortly after seeing it on the horizon, and they were now being escorted to the one who hired them. The man's name was Higurashi Kato, and he was one of the most trustworthy men inside the Fang Daimyo's castle. So, it didn't take a genius to realize that the missing nins simply felt like stealing some documents from the guy without reason whatsoever. In little time, the Anbu reached a spaced living room before finding a man, who appeared to be Kato, drinking some tea with his eyes closed while he savored the delicate aroma of the green herb. "Kato-sama, the ninja from Konoha are here as per requested by my lord," said the servant, earning the man's attention. Kato's figure didn't demand respect in any shape of the way. He was short, needed to lose weight, and on top of that, he was exhaling a powerful smell, probably from smoking so much. Shino was finding it hard to control his insects, causing major chaos inside his body. As he approached, he handed the teacup to the servant and began looking at the Anbu in front of him, with a failed attempt of trying to look at their eyes, because of the mask. Both Naruto and Shikamaru couldn't help but curse the guy for staring so much, but didn't react because of their mission. "Well, I'm sure Tsunade-san would send their finest to aid me, since I paid a lot of money to her. Those documents are important and I need them back," said Kato, earning a nod from Naruto, who, since he was the leader, stepped up and addressed the client. "Kato-san, we assure you that we'll do everything within our power to recover those documents and capture the missing nins. Now, could you perhaps explain to us what we need to know about the documents and, if possible, about the ones who stole it?" asked Naruto, trying to be as polite as possible, since he never had any training in etiquette, aside from some hints given by his girlfriend from time to time. Shino and Shikamaru, though, acknowledged said ability and didn't find any flaws in Naruto's greeting. Since both of them were clan heirs, such rules were practically drilled inside their heads since birth, but since Naruto was an orphan, he had no one to teach him these things. The client looked at the blonde one as if trying to study the group's leader, but couldn't find anything. The man's posture demanded respect, Kato thought, and the way he spoke brought confidence to Kato about his hopes of seeing the documentation. "Sure, I can, ninja-san. As you may or may not know, I'm the Director of Commerce and Trading here in Fang Country, and as such, I'm privy to contracts and keen documentation regarding the negotiations being held with my country. A few weeks ago, we managed to close a trading deal with Wave Country. However, Wave Country's Daimyo Tazuna Dono requested a copy of the contract for his archives. Sadly, though, it was stolen right before I managed to get it," explained Kato, earning a nod from Naruto, while thinking about the people in Wave Country and wondering if the old drunk actually is Daimyo now. "Okay, then sir, now why are you suspicious of missing nins from Iwa stealing said contract?" asked Naruto, earning a nod followed by a smile since Kato was just getting there. "A couple of weeks ago, a selected group of them caused some small chaos in one of our villages. They called themselves Iwa's Exile. 3 days ago, one of my servants was killed by them with what appeared to be a kunai embedded with a message, right before the contract was stolen," said Kato, before grabbing the note and giving it to Naruto. "Greetings, Kato-san. By the time you read this, we'll be pretty much gone from your castle, however we won't be leaving empty-handed. You see, Fang Country has spread its trade and commerce throughout the elemental nations, and we, the Iwa's Exile, don't like that. We plan to expand our group, and for that, money is involved. This contract surely means a lot for your country, so you wouldn't mind giving us a fair amount of money for it, don't you? If you want the contract back, you'll have to give us 3 million ryu in exchange. Also, don't worry about you finding us, just settle the amount with you when we arrive next time. Also, in case you try to hire someone to go against us, be sure not to let us know, unless we'll destroy the contract and everything of its contents. See you soon. After Naruto read it, he gave it to Shikamaru and Shino, who began analyzing it. Sir, we'll get right on the case, said Naruto before he and his team left the place and went outside. So what do you think? Asked Naruto to Shikamaru, since he was the mastermind of the team. The message seems legit, but the lack of blood on it is what I'm worried about. He said that the message was embedded with a kunai that pierced his servant's back, but there is no blood or even evidence of any in the past, reported Shikamaru. How can we know that this so-called "I was exile" even exists? One of the things I did upon getting inside the Anbu forces was to memorize the bingo book, and I don't recall reading about this group, commented Shino, to which Naruto nodded with his arms crossed as he processed the information his team gave so far. The story seemed far-fetched, but if the contract exists, then Fang Country must want it back somehow. The contract exists, though, and it's missing. What we need to know is do some recon both from the message and from the place the contract was stolen. From there, we can identify the user's method and perhaps know their identities or where they go. I'll bring in an associate of mine to aid us in this investigation, said Naruto, confusing both his teammates, before they saw him cutting his index finger and making hand seals. Oni Kuchio's no jutsu, demon summoning jutsu, shouted Naruto before a brown two-tailed fox appeared in front of him. Naruto-sama, how can I be of service? Asked Onmitsu, before Naruto explained the entire situation to the investigator fox. During this event, both Shino and Shikamaru were looking at each other, both remembering the same thing. Flashback on. Both Shikamaru and Shino were in front of the Anbu commander's office, being briefed on what it takes to be an Anbu. Congratulations to both of you for joining the Anbu forces. We work under the orders of our Hokage and help her to better protect this village, even if it costs our lives to do so. You are now part of this organization that was responsible for protecting the village during all the great Shinobi wars and granting victory to the hidden village in the leaves. Now, as members of this prestiged organization, both of you will be entitled to some of the village secrets, and both I and the Hokage expect that you keep this information secret for as long as you both shall live. As of right now, I'll be telling you two S-ranked secrets that I believe are vital for those under my command to know. It revolves around one of our most proud members, codenamed Black Wolf, said Yamato, before Shino and Shikamaru looked at each other in surprise. They came to know from others about Black Wolf's reputation, but few of them knew his real identity since he never took his mask off even inside the HQ. But both Shino and Shikamaru knew who Black Wolf was. However, they didn't know he had a secret that no one knew about. Both of you were taught that the almighty Kyuubi no Yoko was killed by our Yondaime Hokage, but at the cost of his life, right? Asked Yamato, before seeing both nodding. However, that was a cover story in order for our member to have a normal life, at least one as less dangerous as possible. The Kyuubi no Yoko was composed of pure energy. Its shape was predefined by how much power stored within him, so it was safe to say that no human could ever hope to kill something based purely on energy. So, the Yondaime Hokage used a fuinjutsu technique that enabled him to seal off the fox inside a human being. An object wouldn't suffice, as the fox would simply escape. It couldn't be just any human being, because the fox would kill him from the inside and escape once more. The best possible choice was to seal the fox inside a born infant, simply because its chakra coils wouldn't be developed yet and he or she could hold the fox's chakra and use it in the future, explained Yamato, but by the look of pure shock in both Shino and Shikamaru's faces, he didn't need to continue the story. Shikamaru was shocked, since for as long as he knew the blonde, never before he could have known that someone like Naruto could hold such a terrible secret for himself. Shikamaru remembered his father telling about the Kyuubi event and that several Nara members were killed because of the fox, but Shikamaru wasn't mad at this predicament. simply because it happened right after he was born, so his memory had no recollection of what happened. Now wondering about his friend, Shikamaru actually began to respect him even more now. Naruto was the first of their generation to join Anbu and he was considered the dead last of the class. One thing for sure was that Shikamaru now understood just who the real Uzumaki Naruto was. Shino, though shocked, couldn't argue with the logic behind the whole matter. Like with the Nara clan, lots of Aburame members were killed by the Kyuubi, but Naruto's situation was similar to his own, so how could he think any ill of Naruto? The Kyuubi was Naruto as his bugs were to him and aid them in battle. Also, it's not like Naruto asked to receive such a burden. They were awakened by Yamato who cleared their throat and addressed them. The reason I'm telling you two this is because from all of us here, you two were present throughout Naruto's life and as such, you two deserve to know the real truth. That doesn't mean, though, that the secret is free to everyone. It still remains a S-ranked secret and if shared with someone who doesn't have the authority to know, will be punished by death. I trust that both of you understand the seriousness of this situation, said Yamato, earning a nod of acknowledgement from the new recruits. Flashback off. As they saw Naruto telling the fox everything they discovered so far, both Shino and Shikamaru both remembered the silent oath they made to follow the blonde in case he ever needed their help. After a while, Naruto got up and addressed his two teammates. I know what you two are thinking and I know that Yamato Taiko told you two about my condition. Now, because of my link, I can summon 5 ninja foxes that can aid me or my team throughout the mission. Now, Onmitsu here is the detective. One look at the contract place and he can detect even the faintest chakra residue. That will help us find the ones who stole the document and see if they are indeed Iwa missing nins, said Naruto, before he went back to the house with his fox in tow, but stopped once Shikamaru called him. Taiko, yes we know of your condition and no, we don't think any ill of it. Trust us to see the underneath of the underneath and realize that what you are is not a result of what you'd asked for or really craved for it. This happened without your consent and as such, you shouldn't be condemned for it. We just hope you'll trust us more in the future than you do now, said Shikamaru, earning a nod from Shino who was standing with his arms crossed. Naruto couldn't help but smile behind his mask as he heard his friend's words. Sure, trust wasn't earned so easily these days and Naruto would have half a mind to just place a step back for these two. However, he could not forget that neither Shikamaru nor Shino ever treated him badly in the past nor underestimated his abilities even when people considered him a dead last. Naruto concluded that amongst those he knew, he could have 2 new additions to the ones precious to him. Naruto had few, but precious friends, Kakashi, Iruka, Hawk, Yamato, Bear and now Shikamaru and Shino joined the list. I don't know what the future holds, but for now I can say for sure, that I can trust you two with my burden. Now, let's proceed with the mission since I want to come home as fast as possible, said Naruto, earning nods from Shino and Shikamaru, before entering the house with the fox. Shortly after arriving at the contract room, Onmitsu's eyes changed and he scanned the room for any different source of chakra than the ones present. His noise surely detected 4 different scents, but the smells alone couldn't lead the two-tailed fox anywhere, so the fox changed its approach and tried to scan for chakra residues inside the room. It took a while, but Onmitsu's eyes managed to scan the faint chakra residues and managed to tail them outside the house, before looking in said direction. Naruto-sama, I managed to sense 4 chakra residues going northeast from here. If my senses are correct, they are not so far from here. Shall we follow after them? Asked Onmitsu, before Naruto nodded and turned to his peers. If the message is legit, then they would return here to collect the money. I'll leave some cage bunchins here just in case, but if Onmitsu managed to track them, we won't need to worry about them coming to collect the money. Let's go, ordered Naruto, before Shikamaru and Shino nodded and followed both Naruto and the fox towards where the battle would now begin. Chapter 19, A Warrior's Desire. Beta. Dretya. _ It had been a while since Itachi used the Hachibi excuse to flee from the Akatsuki without having to worry about a possible confrontation. His plan was simple, yet complicated at the same time. Tricking the Akatsuki, let alone someone like Zetsu, was nearly impossible. However, the Uchiha knew some aspects of Fuinjutsu linked with the henge technique added with a wide-scale genjutsu to make it seem that a demon attacked him, so as to make it look like it was Itachi lying on the ground all bloodied, but the truth was that Itachi chose a missing nin from Kumo for the experiment. It was successful, though, as the body laid on the ground covered in blood was an exact replica of the elder Uchiha. Being an Anbu before the Uchiha massacre, he got to learn a lot of useful things that aided him in his career. However, now he was counting on the useless things that he was taught, like how to prepare false scenery using some seals and a henge. After taking care of everything, Itachi walked away from the fake body. Itachi never got to take his Anbu attire off before joining the Akatsuki, so without the black robe, he returned to being a ninja from Konoha, except that with a crossed headband. The man knew he had to change his outfit from fear of being easily recognized by people. The problem of being the one responsible for the Uchiha massacre was that the minute he escaped the village, the word spread all around the elemental nations. Itachi was never much fan of diverting attention to himself, even before committing the terrible sin of killing everyone of the Uchiha clan, except for his stupid brother. Of course, just like any Uchiha, Itachi was the #1 rookie of his academy class and had a mob of fangirls chasing him. Soon, he arrived at a small village and looked around a bit. His senses for other ninjas were normal, so he was safe. Wandering around for a while, Itachi managed to find a clothes store where he could ditch the Anbu attire in hopes of getting something inconspicuous. Once inside, he saw that the store was divided into normal civilian clothes and shinobi clothes. Itachi thought it was a good idea to mix the two. Of course, he wanted to hide his appearance, but he also wanted some light material for movement in case Akatsuki learned of his treachery. The shop owner was an old man and he was snoring like crazy, so Itachi just walked through the store looking for something he could wear. He needed first something to hide his face, so he would have to purchase a mask. Also, he needed to find a robe just like the Akatsuki wear, but in a different color. He was wandering around the store, until he found one light blue with black stripes all over. Also, Itachi managed to find some light cargo paints and a gray shirt with a high collar that would cover up to Itachi's nose just like the usual Uchiha blue shirt that both he and Sasuke wore. Gathering everything he needed, Itachi went to the counter and landed his soon-to-be-purchased clothes right in front of the old man with enough noise to wake him. Itachi confessed that he was a bit taken aback when the old man opened his eyes and shouted at him like he was crazy. "What do you want, you fool? Can't you see that I'm taking a nap?" shouted the old geezer. Itachi couldn't help but see the irony in this situation. He is an S-ranked missing nin, killer of the fabled Uchiha clan, being shouted at by an old geezer who probably wouldn't give a shit if Itachi was a ninja or not. "I want to purchase these items from your store, after this I won't bother you and you can go back to your nap," said Itachi, not at all focused on teaching the man not to shout at him. It wasn't that the old Uchiha didn't want to, it was rather the fact that one single mistake could lead the Akatsuki right behind him and Itachi knew he couldn't take on all of them together. Maybe Zetsu, but both Tobi and Pain were the strongest members of the organization and as such, they shouldn't be taken lightly. The old man snorted something about young punks these days lacking respect for the elderly, but Itachi ignored it, all in favor of getting the hell out of this store and be able to rid himself of the Anbu clothing and the crossed headband so as to cut all ties with just about any type of organization that exists. Luckily for Itachi, The man was quick, and in minutes, Itachi was walking out of the shop with some shopping bags. He needed to go somewhere where he could change and burn his old attire, and he saw the perfect place, thus speeding things up a bit. In minutes, Itachi was now wearing his new outfit and burned his Anbu attire. Now, it was time for the next part of the plan, and that was finding someone who could heal his eyes for him. The Mangenkyu Sharingan was a remarkable weapon, but with time, the user would lose his ability to see properly, eventually losing his eyesight. One thing was certain, though, that until Itachi managed to find someone to fix his eyes, the Sharingan would not be used. As Itachi began to walk towards no certain destination, he noticed a dango restaurant straight ahead, but instead of thinking of the food, Itachi's sight immediately recognized the one seating there having some lunch. _equals with Jiraiya == Jiraiya was traveling around the elemental nations in search for more clues regarding the technique responsible for the virus extraction. The pervert didn't find much information, and he didn't like it one bit. Being an information gatherer and one of the best, if something truly annoyed Jiraiya, it was not being able to dig further. Some of his contacts expressed their intelligence, saying that they were aware of a technique like the one Jiraiya was looking for, but the truth is that none of them managed to give Jiraiya any more material to work with. Right now, Jiraiya was eating some dango while deep in thought about his investigation. However, he soon stopped cold in his tracks upon looking up, only to see one of Konoha's worst enemies staring right at him with that cold look in his eyes. But the weird thing was that he wasn't dressed like last time, and also the scratched forehead protector was now gone from his forehead. "It's been a while, Jiraiya," said Itachi, of course receiving only snarl in response from the Sannin. Jiraiya was cursing his luck, or rather lack of it, by meeting one of the Akatsuki right in front of him, and even worse, the sole possessor of the eternal Mangekyo Sharingan. Jiraiya's shinobi mind was confused, though, after seeing the change in wardrobe and also the fact that Itachi was alone rather than with a partner, something wasn't right, and Jiraiya wanted to know about it. "I'm curious about Itachi-kun, about the change in wardrobe. Surely it isn't a conscious crisis we're talking about here?" asked Jiraiya, while fixing eye contact with Itachi, even though it was highly ill-advised to face an Uchiha eye to eye. However, since the Sharingan wasn't active, then Jiraiya had nothing to worry about being casted a genjutsu out of a sudden. Itachi for his part saw the sarcasm in the Sannin's words and snorted. "A shinobi cannot afford to grieve over the past. We have a reduced lifespan as it is, and it's ill-advised to mourn the past actions. It wasn't in my plan for you to see me like this, but I'm here to ask you something, if I may," asked Itachi, before seeing Jiraiya nodding his head as if asking what Itachi wanted. "Ever since we lost Kisame to Konoha Anbu, I've been thinking about the one wearing black wolf mask, and truth be told, he has been my interest," explained Itachi. Jiraiya, though, managed to control his subtle body movements that would come with realization upon hearing Itachi's words, but inside, the man was cursing the genius Uchiha from being too damn smart. But the fact remained that should Itachi still work with Akatsuki, the only ninja from Konoha who would interest him would be Naruto, not the Anbu Black Wolf, even if they are the same person. Jiraiya didn't open his mouth until Itachi proceeded. "I didn't see the fight that Kisame had since I was busy handling myself against both Kakashi and the Godime Hokage, but still beating Hoshikage Kisame, one of the strongest members of the Seven Swordsmen of the Mist, require both skills and strength that are peculiar to at least one of Akatsuki's level or even your level. It's my interest to meet this guy and hope to fight him in a duel," said Itachi, before seeing Jiraiya quirk his eyebrow in response to Itachi's strange request. A mere desire to fight someone was a warrior's wish, and certainly no one could say that Itachi was one. "I'm more confused now than when I first saw you with this different outfit. I never expected you to be the warrior type," said Jiraiya, earning a nod from Itachi. The reason for my actions so far was merely to test how far I've gotten with my skills. Joining Akatsuki and facing Jinchurikis was a way for me to measure my capabilities against much powerful foes, but unfortunately the ones I engaged were either too inexperienced in the shinobi arts or too old to even move accordingly. Now, the black-masked Anbu managed to defeat Kisame and he was an S-ranked ninja, explained Itachi, before ordering some dango to the waiter and seating at the same table as Jiraiya while facing him. The pervert for his part wondered about a possible alibi on Itachi's side and chose to answer his doubt concerning this whole situation. Let me ask you something, considering the level of ninjas that represent Akatsuki, I would imagine that something as treason would be highly drawn upon. Clearly, you can't say that they just let you walk away free of any commitment towards their cause, whatever there is, asked Jiraiya, before Itachi nodded. You are indeed correct, a member who commits acts of treason will receive a death sentence. However, I don't trust you enough to just tell what happened, just the fact that you will be the only one who knows I'm alive as I expect you to keep secret to anyone is enough, said Itachi, before Jiraiya snorted, since Itachi didn't actually give him any reasons not to tell that he escaped and maybe ruin his plans, whatever that might be. I'm sorry Itachi, but what would keep me from spreading the word about you leaving Akatsuki? Surely, you'd have to grant me something that I can use for the favor of keeping this information. Unless, you plan to kill me right now, because if that's the case, then you could just forfeit. You're a strong kid, but not strong enough to kill a Sannin and be able to hide your tracks, spoke Jiraiya, before seeing Itachi negating the question with his head. He just waited for his dango order to be placed in front of him and for the waiter to leave, before responding. I don't plan to kill you, but rather use you if I may. I still plan to engage against the black-masked Anbu, whether you want or not. But, if you do help me with this, I'll grant you information regarding the organization. However, this deal proposal will only come to fruition if you hold your end of the bargain, explained Itachi, earning another snort from the elder ninja. Itachi was indeed too damn smart and cunning as well. He knew that Jiraiya was gathering any sort of information about Akatsuki and was spreading information to the other hidden villages. The problem with accepting this deal was that he would have to agree in setting Naruto to fight against Itachi, and as such, he could very well capture Naruto and hand him to the Akatsuki. However, if the information that Itachi provides allows Jiraiya to work on a counter-jutsu that would nullify the extraction technique. It was a risk, Jiraiya knew, and a big one if Itachi managed to turn the tables on him. Nevertheless, Jiraiya didn't survive thus far by being an amateur. Before this deal closes, Itachi, I have one condition. Before I agree to settle you on a fight against the Anbu, you must prove that you won't betray me in the end by supplying me with false information. Once I'm satisfied with the information you provide, I'll give you my word that your request will reach the Godime Hokage, because after all, because of her position, she needs to know about it, asked Jiraiya, earning a nod from Itachi, who actually accepted the condition. I accept the condition, Jiraiya. So, what do you want to know about the Akatsuki? However, your condition should apply to you as well. If I sense that you're not doing your part, I'll call the whole thing off and cease everything, said Itachi, earning a nod from Jiraiya, before they both shook hands to settle the deal. However, by the look on their faces, it was clear that none trusted each other, but that would change in time, at least Jiraiya hoped so. Sometimes, the enemy becomes the ally, and while said concept wasn't strange to the Sannin, he certainly had reservations about siding with someone as Itachi. With Naruto . Unaware of Jiraiya's deal, Naruto and his peers were currently tailing the demon fox Onmitsu, who in turn was tailing the enemy chakra's essence. The fox managed to give the numbers of enemies and much information their chakra could provide to the fox. Naruto, Shikamaru and Shino already knew about their affinities and chakra levels, as well as their numbers. Apparently, there were 5 of them, with 3 Junin-level shinobi and 2 Chunin levels. All of them were Earth-based, but the last piece of information acted as more confirmation than anything else. The information would exist in case one of the group possessed an affinity that wasn't peculiar to Earth country. Also, their chakra levels were considerably high, so in the end, the Anbu group would need a vital strategy to be able to reclaim the contract without them destroying it and then engage in battle with the missing nins, with the odds against them. Onmitsu, once we reach their hideout, we'll stop and oversee a plan I've gathered. We'll need both Tsukai, messenger, and Yurei, spy, for this one, said Naruto, earning a nod from the fox in front of him, until Shikamaru and Shino regrouped. What do you plan to do? Asked Shikamaru, while looking forward to the fox. Once we reach the facility, Onmitsu will locate the contract and point it to us. Just like Onmitsu, I have 4 more foxes at my disposal. Yurei will be the one entering the place and take the contract and give it to Tsukai, who will deliver the contract to our client, thus leaving the fight for us. If all goes well, we'll regroup in order to plan our battle strategy. Don't worry, though, these foxes will get the job done, explained Naruto, earning a nod from Shino and Shikamaru, before they created some distance between each other, so as to cover more ground. As the group moved, Shino's bugs would provide cover for them in case of a setup, so he was the last one, and with Onmitsu in front with his heightened nose and chakra sensors, he could spot any chakra-related trap more than a mile away. It took 5 minutes to reach the place, and the team plus the fox was now hidden behind the dark vegetation that seemed to surround the camp. The camp's location was badly picked, the Anbus could tell. Sure, they are well hidden because of the vegetation around the place, but should someone find them, the Iwa's exile wouldn't be able to know where the attack comes from or even prepare in advance. The detective fox, in seconds, closed his eyes and used his abilities to feel all 5 presences. The facility involved a group of 4 tents merged together to form a little base of operations, and Onmitsu managed to find the most likely place for the contract to be, since it was being guarded by 2 Junin-level shinobi. After reporting to Naruto, he made the hand seals once more for the Kuchiyos, and this time both Yurei and Tsukai appeared, before greeting their summoner. Greetings, Onmitsu already explained it to me, I'm back in a second, said Yurei, before focusing chakra to his fur and changing to a color more suited for 100% invisibility, and disappeared from view, surprising both Shikamaru and Shino. Naruto, both, addressed Tsukai regarding his part of the mission. Tsukai, after Yurei returns with the contract, you'll deliver it to our client. I believe Onmitsu already informed you of his appearance and name, asked Naruto, earning a nod from the messenger fox, before turning to see nothing. However, what once was nothing but air now became Yurei as he switched to a color that the human eye could see, before handing the contract to Naruto to study. After being satisfied, Naruto gave the contract to Tsukai, who focused chakra to his feet and vanished towards the client's manor. After thanking the foxes and dismissing them, Naruto turned to his Anbu peers in order to organize a plan of attack. The enemy was focused on earth ninjutsu, so apart from Tai and Genjutsu skills, their ninjutsu revolved exclusively on Doden. That left Shikamaru out of the front line, thus being on the defensive with his shadow jutsus. Shino and Naruto had the upper hand because of their Raiden affinity. The plan was simple, which consisted of testing their abilities with physical fighting first. Shikamaru and Shino understood the plan and nodded, before the group vanished from the hiding place and in seconds, appeared right in front of the tent, immediately getting the enemy's attention. One of the Junin, upon seeing the Anbu from Konoha, smirked before turning to scream. Oi Marushi, tear the contract to shreds. We warned that imbecile that should he contact anyone, the contract will be destroyed and now he'll suffer the consequences, said the man named Ganseki, before hearing Marushi screaming an okay from the back. Ganseki was still smirking, even though a little suspicious since the ones from Konoha were just standing there, not doing anything to stop them from destroying the contract. It only took 2 seconds until the man's partner Marushi appeared screaming that the contract disappeared, before Naruto began speaking. Here is the deal, missing nins, you surrender yourselves to us and will be handed to Iwa for a much lesser penalty. It's your choice, said Naruto, earning a snort from the leader Ganseki. What a jackass, you damn well know that going back to Iwa means prison for life. I prefer the other way, smirked Ganseki, before giving the signal for the others to show up. Naruto, though, stopped crossing his arms and reached for his ninjutsu. When I said a lesser penalty, that meant that you'd at least be able to walk out of here alive, but since you chose not to, I guess you just gave us authorization to kill you folks and just send your heads to the Sushikage on a silver platter. Anbu team, the plan is set, let's go. Kage Bunshin no Jutsu, said Naruto, before 2 clones appeared next to him, evening the odds. The next thing, Naruto, Shikamaru and Shino attacked the Iwa's exile with straight-out kenjutsu, in ways of testing their skills. Before one of them started to make hand seals for a jutsu, Naruto was already ahead of the man with his unique genjutsu style. The man immediately saw Naruto coming out from the left and he turned to aim the jutsu, however he failed to foresee that he left an opening for the real Naruto to deliver the killing blow to the man's chest. The fight barely started and one of the Chunin was already killed. The clones were dispatched easily by the 2 Junin, but at least Naruto managed to learn that they are taijutsu experts. Shino and Shikamaru fought in straight taijutsu against the other Chunin, but instead of going for the immediate killing like Naruto did, they preferred to play safe. Besides, it seemed that they excelled more in taijutsu than in other areas. The team from Konoha did some backflips and landed a safe distance away from the enemy, before Naruto ushered in a new plan. Antelope and Beetle, you guys take on the Chunin, leave the Junin to me, said Naruto, to which Shikamaru at first protested, but seeing that Naruto was the leader, his hands were tied in the manner. Immediately, Shino and Shikamaru vanished and so did the 2 Chunin as well, thus leaving Naruto to fetch himself against the 2 Junin, who were actually Marushi and Ganseki. You'll pay for killing our friend Anbu. You may be fast and extremely proficient in genjutsu, but while you managed to fool a Chunin, you can't fool us Junin, said Ganseki, but Naruto only remained in the same fighting pose. In blinding speed, Naruto charged the enemy, once more with the genjutsu, but this time Marushi managed to dispel it immediately after being casted, so genjutsu was out of the picture. Ganseki smiled at his partner before making hand seals for Doden Doryu Dango, Earth Release, Mausoleum Earth Dumpling Jutsu. Seeing the incoming ball of mud, Naruto focused chakra to his feet and dashed to the left while making hand seals for an extremely useful technique and one that the Junin wasn't expecting, called Fuden Daitapa, Wind Release, Great Breakthrough Jutsu. After sending the immense gust of wind, both Ganseki and Marushi were sent flying, but Naruto wouldn't let this change go by and he threw some shurikens at the enemy, who were focusing on escaping from the wind and didn't see the incoming projectiles. Most of them caused damage, followed by a snarling coming from Ganseki, who cursed the Anbu ninja from the dirty blow. Thanking the heavens that the shurikens didn't hit their arms or legs, the 2 Junin yanked them out from their chest and then attacked Naruto together in full-out taijutsu. Immediately, upon seeing the attack, Naruto got ready for the by focusing chakra to his feet, before dashing straight forward in order to halt the enemies. Naruto's speed surprised the Junin as they switched to defensive mode in order to defend from Naruto's incoming kicks. After Ganseki managed to defend Naruto's reverse kick from the left, Marushi tried to aim a strong punch to Naruto's jaw, to which Naruto dodged just in time and jumped for a roundhouse kick aimed for Marushi's chest, but the kick was stopped by Ganseki, who positioned his arm towards defending his partner's open chest. Marushi took the lead and moved for a frontal kick towards disabling Naruto's defense, but Naruto managed to grab the man's leg, before landing a low kick to Marushi's right knee, earning a loud scream from the poor man who couldn't help but fall on the ground and hold his leg in a desperate attempt to stop the pain. Marushi was done for and wouldn't get back up on the fight. However, when Naruto was moving in for the killing blow, Ganseki came for the rescue and landed a straight punch at Naruto's chest, before sending the blonde on the ground. Not one to lose track, Naruto used the momentum and placed his hands on the ground, before flipping his body to stand still. The missing nins from Iwa didn't even see the series of hand seals Naruto was doing, but instead all they could see was what appeared to be a lightning lion opening his mouth, before thousands and thousands of bolts shocked their entire system. Underscore. Equals with Shikamaru and Shino equals. After separating from Naruto, Shino and Shikamaru decided to join forces in taking care of the two Chunin in front of them. In fact, their abilities weren't what one could say above average. Even though they didn't outright kill one of them like Naruto did, Shino and Shikamaru were merely testing the enemy's skills, and to be quite frank, they didn't measure Anbu's level of skill. Nevertheless, the first lesson that a ninja must learn once in Anbu is never to underestimate the enemy, and to always be on guard no matter the circumstances. Do you think he's alright? He is fighting against two Junin-level shinobi, asked Shino, while staring at the enemy before hearing Shikamaru snort in disbelief at his teammate worrying about Naruto's welfare. Don't worry about him, there isn't a soul in Anbu that doesn't question Black Wolf's skills and even spread rumors about him. Plus, he trained with the best, I'm sure he will deal with the Junin in no time. Now, I believe we should worry about these guys and then go assist our leader, explained Shikamaru, earning a nod from Shino, before both vanished and appeared in mid-air, throwing shurikens at the opponents. Immediately grabbing kunai, the ones from Iwa managed to defend themselves from the incoming projectiles. Seeing that the Anbu were still in mid-air, the team from Iwa began making hand seals for Doden Domu, Earth Release, Earth Spear Jutsu. Instantly, 4 spears materialized from the ground and landed in their hands, before they threw at Shino and Shikamaru. Acknowledging the attack, Shikamaru approached Shino and the bug user let out his bugs for the Aburame defensive jutsu. The spears hit the bug wall, before vaporizing in thin air. Actually, since Shino's bugs feed themselves on chakra, the spears served as a delicious meal to them. Seeing that the enemy was focusing their attention on Shino's bugs, Shikamaru used his Kage main no jutsu shadow binding technique, and instantly his shadow began to spread along the open field and managed to get a hold on both of the enemy's shadow, without their knowledge, since Shino's bugs were at first representing the bigger treat. However, when they tried to move their bodies, surprise struck them as they saw the shadow beam leaving Shikamaru and reaching their shadows. You two were focusing so much on my comrade's attack that you forgot about me. Now, you can't move and thus you're open for an attack, explained Shikamaru, earning a snarl from the Chunin. Release us this moment, you coward. You Konoha ninjas are all the same with your special bloodlines and stupid tricks, mumbled one of the Chunin, but this time it was Shino who spoke. A ninja must be prepared for what lies underneath. It's not because of our bloodlines that we were able to win this fight, but rather the skill and experience to use them effectively. Now, since I believe you know about the Kikaichu bugs and their hunger for chakra, you two will be on their menu. However, both of you could still give up and we will spare your life. It's your choice, asked Shino, before hearing the once silent one screaming obscenities for both Shino and Shikamaru, but he never could since the bugs attacked the Chunin and them dry of chakra in minutes. After they left and returned to Shino's body, the Chunin's life force was all but by the bugs and without energy, they would be dead. So, only gravity was necessary to send their bodies to the ground. Man, such troublesome waste of chakra. We could, at least, discuss the plan with Naruto beforehand. Beagle, let's head to the leader, but first we need to seal these corpses to be later delivered to the Tsushikage, said Shikamaru, to which Shino nodded, before both of them grabbed a body-sealing scroll for each corpse. Afterwards, they vanished only to appear at the end of Naruto's fight when they saw a huge lightning lion opening his mouth and engulfing both Junins, before hearing their screams echoing through the open field. Needless to say, both of them were dead the minute thousands and thousands of bolts raced through their system. Seeing his team returned unscathed, Naruto smiled and turned to address his peers. "Good job, team. Let's head back to the client and see what he has to say about this whole mess," said Naruto, to which Shino and Shikamaru nodded, as they handed their scrolls to Naruto, who in turn looked at them. "Maybe next time, we can be set up against a more worthy opponent. Let's head back," sighed Naruto, once again earning nods of acknowledgement from Shino and Shikamaru as the group began to jump between trees to get back. Shikamaru, though, couldn't help but want to get aroused by Naruto. "Oi Naruto, you could have left at least one Junin with us, you know. The Chunin went out with only one attack. The Junin could at least offer a better challenge," said Shikamaru, before hearing Naruto laugh at Shikamaru's comment. "Sorry about that, Shika. I thought that when they managed to break my genjutsu so quickly, that their skills were worth something, but in the end, they weren't much. The next time, if we are set up once more, it will be you guys who get to fight the strongest of them. Deal?" asked Naruto, before hearing Shikamaru mutter the word troublesome and smile. Shikamaru knew enough not to underestimate Anbu's level missions. He damn well knew that at any moment, one slip occurred and his life ended. == at Kato's residence ===. After the ninjas from Anbu returned to the client's house, Naruto was quite surprised to see a much familiar person talking with their client while showing a satisfied look on his face. "As you can see, Tazuna Dono, everything is in order for our business to flourish," said Kato, until the sight of the Anbus inside his house caught his attention. The man smiled and then turned to Tazuna, who in turn also spotted the three shinobis standing there with their arms crossed. For some unknown reason, the wave daimyo focused his eyes on the one wearing a black mask. Tazuna could see that the man was blonde, which in turn resembled the little kid from so long ago, who saved their village and made it prosper. Kato only smiled, before adjusting his black suit and began to explain. "Ah, I see you met the team of shinobi I hired for an errand of mine. Nothing to worry about, since the mission was accomplished, I presume," asked Kato, earning a nod from Shikamaru, who in turn thanked the heavens for wearing a mask. Shikamaru couldn't help but smile at the client's pathetic attempt of hiding what really happened with the contract, but Shikamaru knew better. As a future heir, he knew that when money is involved, sometimes telling something that would endanger the negotiator's reputation would be better off keeping a secret. Naruto, though, wondered what Tazuna was staring at him for. Of course, he met the old man briefly at the mission towards Wave Country and took care of the shipping magnate Gato and his band of mercenaries. However, Naruto wasn't the only one there, since his sensei at the time managed to beat the most dangerous adversary. Naruto was caught by surprise when Tazuna addressed him, albeit not by his real name. "Tell me something." Black-masked Anbu, a longtime kid of your village, managed to help us grow strong. "I was wondering if you know about Uzumaki." Naruto asked Tazuna. Naruto, for his part, felt tempted to simply let go of the mask and say, "Hello there," but he couldn't. Tazuna, Tsunami, Inari and Haku were one of Naruto's precious people when he was young, and no matter what changed, Naruto would always remember those who treated him nicely in his life. However, an Anbu just couldn't reveal his or her identity, and that was the rule, no exceptions. "Sorry Daimyo-sama, but said name brings me no recollection whatsoever. Now, Kato-san, I believe our work here is done, so my team and I will be heading back to our village," said Naruto, to which Kato nodded. Immediately, Naruto turned to leave, but saw that Shikamaru and Shino didn't turn at first, but shortly after, they turned and left the house, towards Konoha. On the way, no words were shared. Naruto chose a strategy position where he could be farther than Shikamaru and Shino, thus managing to cover more angles. That served for two purposes, one professional and one personal. The professional was obviously not falling into a trap. The personal, though, was that Naruto was thinking about the old man once more. Naruto felt the man wanted to say thanks for everything he and Team 7 did for Wave Country, but Naruto was an Anbu and as such, he had to abide by the Anbu Code of Conduct, which clearly states that no Anbu should reveal his or her identity under penalty of being expelled from the Anbu order and returned to the Junin position. Shikamaru and Shino remained on the rear, looking at their leader up front. They wondered about what the daimyo said about Naruto helping the country to stand once more, and truth be told, they were curious. Also, they could easily feel at the time how much Naruto fought to keep his mask on, instead of revealing his identity. But just like Naruto, everyone who passed through the Anbu forces had to make a blood oath to never reveal his or her identity under penalty of being stripped of the rank and becoming a regular Junin. "Do you think we should go talk to him?" asked Shikamaru, before looking at his partner in crime. "I'm afraid I'm not the most suitable person for you to ask. My family teaching is purely based on logic, whereas this situation requires someone who's well versed in understanding emotions," explained Shino, earning a sigh in dismay from Shikamaru. "How troublesome. You could just say you didn't know, it would be easier," said Shikamaru, but Shino didn't bother to offer a reply to Shikamaru's comment. With Jiraiya . After a while of discussions, each set to different paths, and Jiraiya was heading back to Konoha. Thanks to Itachi, the info regarding the Fuinjutsu was complete. According to Itachi, the technique consisted of their leader summoning a demon statue who held the Biju's aura. The members would then use chakra simultaneously to initiate the extraction technique. For now, that was okay, Jiraiya considered. He placed a condition for Itachi that he would be placed on suspension until Jiraiya could be certain that Itachi wouldn't backstab Konoha and capture Naruto. Now this was a subject that interested the Sannin. Naruto was building an interesting reputation, and even the mighty Uchiha Itachi is interested in fighting the Black Wolf Anbu. Nevertheless, Jiraiya needed to treat this situation carefully, because the consequences might be gigantic. Also, Jiraiya wouldn't even consider trading Naruto's safety in exchange for some secondary information that will only lead to the need of new clues to unravel more information. The pervert knew one thing, though: Tsunade would have to know, and she could very well kill him this time for associating with AS-ranked missing nin who in the past only wanted to capture Naruto. Needless to say, Jiraiya was already fearing the beating he would be about to receive after he drops the nuclear bomb. That's it for Part 13. If you enjoyed this story, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe for more Naruto What If stories. And comment below, what do you think will happen in Part 14? See you in the next video.